Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the bridge of the UES Nightshade, her expression unreadable as she watched the massive Kraxan warfleet approach through the holographic display. The human vessel, barely visible against the backdrop of space, continued its slow drift through the asteroid field that marked the border of Earth-controlled space. To any observer, the Nightshade appeared to be a simple diplomatic vessel, its sleek obsidian hull bearing no visible weapons or defensive systems. "They're hailing us, Admiral," Lieutenant Rivera reported from his communications station. "The Kraxan Supreme Commander demands our immediate surrender." Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Kraxan Empire had spent the last decade systematically conquering and enslaving dozens of younger spacefaring races, their biological superiority and overwhelming numbers making resistance futile. They had never encountered humanity before, and their arrogance would be their undoing. "Open a channel," Chen ordered, smoothing her uniform. The holographic display shifted, revealing the imposing figure of Supreme Commander Vexthar. The alien's crystalline exoskeleton gleamed with bioluminescent patterns, a sign of his high rank in the hierarchical Kraxan society. "Human vessel," Vexthar's translated voice boomed through the bridge. "Your species' reputation for harboring fugitives from our justice has reached our ears. Surrender the Arxian refugees you protect, and we may show mercy." Chen's expression remained neutral, though her heart ached for the 1,000 Arxian civilians hidden in the Nightshade's quantum storage chambers. Their world had been the latest victim of the Kraxan's expansion, their people scattered across the galaxy. "Supreme Commander," Chen replied cordially, "I'm afraid there must be some mistake. We are a diplomatic vessel on a routine patrol. If you'd like to discuss the matter of refugees, I suggest we arrange a proper meeting through official channels." The Kraxan commander's bioluminescence flared with anger. "Our sensors detect Arxian life signs aboard your vessel. Your primitive attempts at deception are futile. You have one planetary rotation to surrender, or we will destroy your ship and take them by force." The transmission cut off, and Chen turned to her tactical officer. "Status of the quantum web." Lieutenant Commander Jackson's fingers danced across his console. "Fully operational, Admiral. All 40,000 microsatellites are in position throughout the asteroid field. The Kraxan haven't detected a single one." Chen nodded, satisfaction evident in her eyes. Humanity had learned early in its spacefaring history that conventional military tactics would never be enough. While other races built bigger ships and more powerful weapons, Earth's scientists had focused on manipulation of quantum fields and microtechnology. The Nightshade was humanity's masterpiece, a ship that appeared defenseless but carried within it the means to control a vast network of quantum-linked microsatellites, each capable of generating defensive shields, weapon platforms, or even holographic duplicates of entire vessels. "Begin quantum signature masking," Chen ordered. "Prepare to activate the web on my mark, and send a message to Earth Command. Operation Shadow Guard is proceeding as planned." As the hours ticked by, the Kraxan fleet grew increasingly restless. Their scans repeatedly showed nothing but a lightly armed diplomatic vessel, yet their commanders knew the humans were hiding something. The reputation of Earth's technological prowess had spread through the galaxy, though few knew its true extent. Chen spent the time visiting the Arxian refugees, ensuring they were comfortable in their quantum chambers. The frightened civilians had no idea they were about to become part of a turning point in galactic history. Humanity had watched the Kraxan's atrocities for too long, gathering intelligence and preparing for the perfect moment to act. As the deadline approached, Chen returned to the bridge. The Kraxan fleet had arranged itself in an attack formation, their massive warships gleaming with powered-up weapon systems. "Admiral," Rivera called out, "they're hailing us again." Chen straightened her uniform once more. On screen, Vexthar's face appeared, his crystalline features set in a predatory smile. "Your time has expired, human. Surrender now or be destroyed." Chen's reply was calm and measured. "Supreme Commander, I'm afraid I have a counter-proposal." She nodded to Jackson. "Now." Across the asteroid field, 40,000 quantum-linked microsatellites simultaneously activated. In an instant, the seemingly empty space around the Kraxan fleet came alive with energy fields and phantom ships. Each microsatellite generated a quantum field that could act as a weapon, shield, or sensor scrambler, their combined effect creating a web of quantum energy that no conventional technology could penetrate. The last thing Supreme Commander Vexthar saw before his communications were cut off was Admiral Chen's satisfied smile, and the space around his fleet transforming into a glittering network of light and shadow. The trap had been sprung, and the true power of human ingenuity was about to be revealed. Chaos erupted across the Kraxan fleet as their sensor systems went haywire. Where moments before there had been empty space, their screens now showed thousands of phantom signatures materializing throughout the asteroid field. Supreme Commander Vexthar watched in growing horror as his tactical display became a sea of contradicting data. Impossible. His chief tactical officer breathed, crystalline appendages frantically working across multiple control surfaces. These energy signatures, they're everywhere and nowhere at once. Our targeting systems can't lock onto anything. The quantum web had sprung to life, transforming the battlefield into humanity's playground. Each microsatellite in the vast network was now generating quantum fields that played havoc with the Kraxan's conventional scanning technology. But Admiral Chen knew this was just the beginning. "Status of Phase 2, she asked, watching the Kraxan fleet's formation begin to break down as ships tried to reorient themselves in the chaos. Lieutenant Commander Jackson grinned. "Ready on your mark, Admiral. All quantum nodes are synchronized." Chen allowed herself a moment to appreciate the elegance of humanity's greatest defensive innovation. The quantum web wasn't just a defensive screen. It was a vast, interconnected network capable of manipulating the very fabric of space-time on a localized scale. "Execute Phase 2, she ordered. Across the battlefield, the quantum nodes shifted frequency. The phantom signatures coalesced into something more substantial, perfect holographic duplicates of the nightshade itself, each one radiating the exact same energy signatures as the original. Within seconds, the Kraxan fleet found itself surrounded by hundreds of identical human vessels. On the Kraxan flagship, Vexthar's bioluminescence pulsed with rage and fear. "Open fire," he commanded. "Destroy them all." The Kraxan ships unleashed a devastating barrage of plasma torpedoes and particle beams. But as their weapons struck the phantom vessels, something unprecedented happened. Instead of passing through the holograms, the energy was caught in quantum fields and redirected, creating a dazzling display of light and power that served only to further confuse the Kraxan targeting systems. "Admiral," Rivera called out, "we're receiving panic signals from multiple Kraxan vessels. Their weapons are overheating from continuous fire, and their shields are degrading from feedback loops created by the redirected energy." Chen nodded. This was exactly what Earth's scientists had predicted would happen. The quantum web didn't just defend against attacks, it turned an enemy's own power against them. The more the Kraxan fired, the more their own weapons' energy was used to strengthen the quantum field surrounding them. "Message from the Arxian refugees, Admiral," Rivera reported. "They're watching the battle through our internal feeds. They're crying. They've never seen anyone stand up to the Kraxan like this." Chen's expression softened momentarily. "Tell them to stay calm. This will all be over soon." She turned to Jackson. "Prepare for Phase 3. Let's show the Kraxan Empire why humanity has survived every threat we've ever faced." The quantum nodes shifted again, this time synchronizing in a way that created corridors of altered spacetime throughout the battlefield. To the Kraxan sensors, it appeared as though the human vessels were teleporting instantaneously between different positions, appearing and disappearing faster than their targeting computers could track. "Supreme Commander," Vexthar's tactical officer shouted, "3 human vessels just appeared inside our formation." "No, wait. Now they're behind us. The sensors I can't tell which ones are real." Vexthar's mighty fleet, The pride of the Kraxan Empire had been reduced to firing blindly into space, their shots passing harmlessly through phantom ships or being redirected back at their own vessels. The Supreme Commander watched in mounting dread as more and more of his ships reported critical systems failures from the strain of continuous combat against an enemy they couldn't properly target. Back on the Nightshade, Chen received a priority message from Earth Command. She read it quickly, a small smile forming on her lips. "Send a message to the Kraxan flagship," she ordered. Text only. The message that appeared on Vexthar's command screen was brief but clear. "Supreme Commander, while your fleet has been occupied here, human stealth vessels have penetrated the defenses of 3 of your primary shipyard worlds. They are now under our control. We have also located and extracted every Arxian refugee camp in your territory. The choice is now yours. Retreat and survive, or continue this fight and lose everything." As if to emphasize the point, the quantum nodes generated one final display. Perfect holographic representations of the Kraxan shipyards, now under human control. The images showed more human vessels emerging from quantum space around these crucial facilities, each one identical to the Nightshade, each one a potential carrier of the devastating quantum web technology. The mighty Kraxan Empire, which had never known defeat, faced a choice: acknowledge this new power in the galaxy, or risk losing everything to an enemy they couldn't even fight properly. And as Vexthar stared at the sensor readings he still couldn't make sense of, he realized that humanity had changed the rules of warfare itself. Supreme Commander Vexthar had not survived 3 decades of military service by being predictable. As his fleet hung suspended in the quantum web's grasp, he activated a secret frequency channel that Earth's intelligence had missed. A message, brief and encrypted, shot out through subspace. On the Nightshade's bridge, Lieutenant Rivera's console suddenly lit up with warnings. "Admiral, massive subspace distortions detected. Multiple signatures emerging from quantum space." Admiral Chen's eyes narrowed as she watched new contacts materialize on the tactical display. The Kraxan had hidden reserves, their legendary crystalline dreadnoughts, massive vessels grown rather than built, each one housing millions of warrior drones within their living hulls. "They kept these ships in reserve," Jackson reported, his voice tense. 5 dreadnoughts, each one larger than their entire visible fleet combined. "The quantum web isn't calibrated for vessels of this size." Chen remained calm, though her mind raced through calculations and contingencies. The Kraxan weren't just fighting back. They were escalating beyond anything Earth's intelligence had predicted. The crystalline dreadnoughts began to pulse with bioorganic energy, their living hulls adapting and evolving in real time to the quantum interference around them. "They're launching drones," Rivera announced. "Millions of them. The quantum web can't generate enough phantom signatures to match these numbers." The space around them, filled with swarms of crystalline drones, each one barely larger than a human hand, but carrying enough explosive power to cripple a conventional warship. The swarms moved like schools of fish, their patterns too organic and unpredictable for standard targeting systems. "Send emergency code Omega to Earth Command," Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the escalating situation. "And get me a direct channel to Dr. Harper in the quantum lab." A new hologram appeared on the bridge. Dr. Emily Harper, the brilliant physicist whose theories had made the quantum web possible. Her avatar showed her in her lab deep within the Nightshade's secure sections, surrounded by swirling holographic equations. "I saw the readings," Harper said without preamble. "The crystalline structures of their dreadnoughts. They're using quantum entanglement principles we didn't think were possible in macro-scale biological systems. They've evolved beyond our original calculations." "Can we adapt?" Chen asked, watching as the first wave of drones began probing the quantum web's defenses. Harper's hands danced through the equations surrounding her. "Yes, but we'll need to sacrifice coverage area for intensity. We can't maintain the web across the entire battlefield anymore. We need to concentrate its effects." Chen nodded. "Lieutenant Commander Jackson, begin quantum web reconfiguration." Dr. Harper, you have authorization to execute Protocol Zero. Harper's eyes widened. Admiral, Protocol Zero was never tested outside simulation. The power requirements alone could burn out half our systems. Better than letting those dreadnoughts reach Earth, Chen replied firmly. Do it. Throughout the quantum web, microsatellites began shifting position, their carefully arranged pattern collapsing inward. The phantom ships disappeared one by one as power was rerouted to a new configuration. The Kraxan drones pressed forward, their swarms now able to pass through areas where the quantum effects had weakened. But Chen wasn't finished. All hands, secure for temporal distortion, she announced shipwide. Dr. Harper, on my mark. The Kraxan drones were halfway to the Nightshade when Chen gave the order. In that instant, Dr. Harper activated Protocol Zero, an experimental quantum field configuration designed to create a localized bubble of altered time-space. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Around the Nightshade and the nearest portions of the quantum web, space itself seemed to twist. Time within the bubble began moving at a different rate than the space outside it. To the Kraxan's horror, their drones began to age hundreds of years in seconds, their crystalline structures growing, evolving, and ultimately breaking down in the blink of an eye. The crystalline dreadnoughts reacted instantly, their living hulls attempting to adapt to the temporal distortion. But as they evolved to counter the effect, Harper's quantum calculations adjusted in real time, creating a cascade of temporal shifts that forced the massive vessels to experience multiple evolutionary paths simultaneously. Admiral, Harper's voice was strained as she worked to maintain the field. The dreadnought's crystalline structures are destabilizing. Their attempt to evolve against the temporal distortions is creating paradox loops in their biological matrices. Chen watched as the mighty dreadnoughts began to tear themselves apart, their living hulls unable to cope with experiencing millions of years of evolution in conflicting directions simultaneously. The swarms of drones had already crumbled to crystalline dust, scattered across space like glittering stars. But victory came at a cost. Throughout the Nightshade, systems were overloading from the strain of maintaining Protocol Zero. Smoke began to fill the quantum lab as Harper's equipment pushed far beyond its design specifications. Admiral, Jackson reported, his voice tight with concern, we can't maintain this field strength much longer. Primary power systems are approaching critical failure. Chen knew they had one chance to end this before their own systems failed. She opened a channel to Vexthar's flagship, which had watched helplessly as its secret weapons were torn apart by forces beyond their comprehension. Supreme Commander, she said, her voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty, you now have a choice. You can watch the rest of your fleet experience the same fate as your dreadnoughts, or you can withdraw and deliver a message to your empire. Earth is off limits, and we will protect any species that seeks refuge from your expansion. In the aftermath of the temporal assault, an eerie calm settled over the battlefield. The crystalline debris of the Kraxan drones drifted like cosmic snow, refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. On the Nightshade's bridge, Admiral Chen watched Supreme Commander Vexthar's face on the holographic display, noting how the alien's bioluminescent patterns had shifted to colors she'd never seen before. Impossible, Vexthar whispered, his translator struggling to convey the mix of awe and fear in his voice. The prophecies were true. You are the inheritors. Chen's expression remained neutral, but her heart rate quickened. This was a term she knew well, one that appeared in classified files so secret that even most of Earth's leadership didn't know they existed. Dr. Harper, Chen called out, what's the status of the quantum core? Harper's hologram flickered as she appeared, her lab still smoking from the strain of Protocol Zero. Stable for now, Admiral. But the temporal feedback triggered something in the artifact. It's responding. Deep within the Nightshade's quantum lab, embedded in the heart of their most advanced systems, sat an object that had changed human history forever. Found buried beneath the Martian surface during humanity's first colonies, the quantum core was a crystalline structure that bore striking similarities to Kraxan technology, except it was millions of years old. You know what this is, "Don't you, Supreme Commander?" Chen asked, watching Vexthar's reaction carefully. "Your people didn't evolve those crystalline bodies naturally. You were engineered, designed by the same civilization that left the quantum core on Mars." Vexthar's bioluminescence pulsed rapidly. "The predecessors," he said, using a term that translated poorly into human languages. "They seeded the galaxy with their technology, waiting for species worthy of their legacy. We believed we were their chosen inheritors." "But you were wrong," Harper interjected, her hologram analyzing streams of data from the quantum core. "The predecessors didn't choose based on biological compatibility or technological advancement. They were looking for something else entirely." Chen nodded. "Empathy, cooperation, the willingness to protect others at our own expense. That's why they left their most powerful artifact where humanity would find it, not because we were the most advanced, but because of how we would use it." The revelation hit the Kraxan commander like a physical blow. His species had spent millennia believing their crystalline biology made them the natural successors to the predecessors' legacy. They had conquered and subjugated other races, believing it was their destiny to rule as their ancient benefactors had. "The quantum core didn't just give us technology," Harper explained, her voice filled with wonder as new data streamed from the ancient device. "It showed us a different path. While other species focused on domination through force, we learned to manipulate the fabric of reality itself, not to conquer, but to protect." Throughout the battlefield, the quantum web began to pulse with new energy patterns. The artifact, awakened by the recent temporal distortions, was revealing more of its secrets. Holographic displays across both fleets came alive with images, scenes from ancient history showing the predecessors' own civilization. "They weren't conquerors," Chen said softly, watching the story unfold. "They were guardians. They developed their quantum technology to protect younger civilizations from cosmic threats. When their time came to pass, they didn't want successors to their empire. They wanted inheritors to their mission." Vexthar watched as the hologram showed his own species' origins, how the predecessors had given them their crystalline biology, not as a mark of superiority, but as a gift to help them survive their harsh homeworld. The Kraxan Empire had misunderstood their purpose for thousands of years. "The temporal distortion we used against your dreadnoughts," Harper added. "That wasn't our technology. It was a defense system built into the quantum core, designed to activate when it sensed its power being used to protect others. We didn't develop these capabilities. We proved ourselves worthy of inheriting them." The quantum core's revelations continued to flow, showing how the predecessors had carefully arranged for their technology to be found by species who would use it wisely. Earth's discovery had been no accident. The artifact had waited specifically for a civilization that would use its power to defend rather than conquer. "Your empire stands at a crossroads, Supreme Commander," Chen said, her voice carrying the weight of history. "The predecessors gave your people great gifts, but they never intended for you to use them for conquest. You can continue down your current path and face the full power of their legacy, or you can remember your true purpose." As if to emphasize her point, the quantum core released another pulse of energy. The crystalline debris from the destroyed drones began to resonate, forming patterns in space that mirrored the ancient quantum technology. The message was clear. The very biology that the Kraxan had seen as proof of their superiority was meant to help them understand and work with the predecessors' defensive technologies, not to dominate others. Supreme Commander Vexthar stood motionless on his bridge, watching as the quantum core's revelations continued to illuminate the space around both fleets. The crystalline fragments of his destroyed drones had arranged themselves into complex geometric patterns, each one telling part of the story of his species' true purpose. His mighty empire, built on a foundation of misunderstood destiny, now faced its greatest challenge, not from human weapons, but from truth itself. "Admiral Chen," he said finally, his translator struggling to convey the complex harmonics of his voice, "my species has spent millennia believing we were meant to rule. How do we simply change course? "You don't have to do it alone," Chen replied, nodding to Dr. Harper. The scientist's hologram gestured, and new data streams appeared between the fleets. The quantum core doesn't just contain weapons and defenses. It holds the complete technological and philosophical archives of the predecessors, including their guidelines for helping species transition from conquest to cooperation. In the Nightshade's quantum lab, the ancient artifact pulsed with renewed energy. The Arxian refugees, still safely stored in their quantum chambers, watched in wonder as their own genetic patterns appeared in the holographic displays, showing how their species too had been touched by the predecessors' planning. "We're all connected," Harper explained, her eyes bright with understanding as she interpreted the quantum core's data. The predecessors didn't just seed the galaxy with technology. They created a vast network of complementary species. The Kraxen's crystalline biology, the Arxians' adaptive intelligence, humanity's capacity for empathy. We were all meant to work together. Vexthar's bioluminescence shifted to deep, contemplative patterns. Our empire's scholars have discovered ancient texts speaking of a great network, a collaboration of species that spanned the galaxy. We always assumed it was under predecessor dominion. But it was a coalition, Chen finished. Equal partners, each contributing their unique strengths. The predecessors weren't looking for servants or subjects. They were preparing us all to take their place as guardians of a living galaxy. Throughout both fleets, crews watched in amazement as the quantum core showed them visions of what could be. The Kraxen's crystalline technology, aligned with its true purpose, could create vast networks of sustainable habitats. The Arxians' adaptive intelligence could help solve the challenges of interspecies cooperation, and humanity's quantum innovations could protect it all. "There will be resistance," Vexthar warned, though his tone had changed from hostile to thoughtful. "Many in the Empire will not easily abandon generations of belief in our supremacy." Chen's response was firm but diplomatic. "Change isn't easy, but Earth is offering partnership, not surrender. Together, we can help your people remember their true purpose. The quantum web isn't just a weapon. It's a demonstration of how technology should be used to protect and connect, not dominate." As if responding to her words, the quantum core initiated a new sequence. The web of microsatellites began to pulse in harmony with the Kraxen ship's crystalline hulls, creating a resonance that spread throughout both fleets. Where there had been chaos and destruction, now there was synchronicity and potential. "The predecessors left us a choice," Harper said, her hologram now showing the quantum core's deepest revelations. "We could either learn to work together, combining our unique gifts to continue their mission of protection and growth, or we could destroy ourselves fighting over their legacy. Today, we make that choice." Vexthar straightened, his crystalline form catching the light of distant stars. "The Empire has spent too long on the wrong path. But perhaps that is why the predecessors arranged this confrontation. Not for one side to destroy the other, but for both to find a better way forward." Admiral Chen smiled, a genuine expression of hope. "Then let's begin. The Arxian refugees under our protection can be the first step, not as subjects of your empire, but as partners in building something new. Something that honors the true legacy we've all inherited." The quantum core's light pulsed one final time, and across both fleets, systems began to align in ways neither side had thought possible. The Kraxen ship's crystalline technologies resonated perfectly with the quantum web, creating a harmonious network that protected rather than threatened. The ancient artifacts had served their purpose, not as weapons of war, but as tools of transformation. As the two fleets began the complex process of cooperation rather than combat, Admiral Chen sent a message to Earth Command. "Operation Shadow Guard complete. But this isn't just a victory for humanity. It's the beginning of something much bigger. The revival of the predecessor's dream of a protected and unified galaxy. We are all guardians now." In the vast darkness of space, the quantum web continued to shimmer, no longer a trap but a symbol of connection. The silent guardian had done its job, not by destroying an enemy, but by helping all sides remember who they were truly meant to be.